So how do you get people to become the best version of themselves to help grow your business, and at the same time, while you're trying to flip over how to flip-flop your mindset in this podcast without flipping too many times and getting some understanding and value from this podcast, understanding that this podcast is about the game called Anchors and Flywheels. Anchors and Flywheels. Welcome to the news. So we're going to try to take you on a little bit of a journey. And in essence, we want to end the journey with a circus. And I promise we'll get there eventually to the circus. So try to stay till the end, because ultimately this thread corresponds to animals and animal life. But ultimately it's a bit ethereal. So we're trying to express about the game that is called Anchors and Flywheels. Anchors and Flywheels. So in essence, what we're trying to get to is how to breathe life into animals, spirit animals, in all aspects and walks of life, to be able to bring people to their realizations of how to flow with finding a pathway and a breadcrumb pathway to be able to find greater purpose and greater understanding and greater philosophy in essence. So we do that by developing little portals through flywheels, and that is sort of the better advancement purpose part of the process of the flywheels and anchors game. Flywheels and anchors, so there's different sizes, there's different symbols as you sort of walk through life, as you sort of advance, as you sort of move through society, as you try to make advances towards fulfilling certain goals and finding the reception of the connection to the universe, reception that has to do with frequencies that have to do with corresponding pathways and gateways to be able to get yourself through certain flywheels to different aspects of different jumps from one quantum leap, from one jumping frequency to another, like lily pads, jumping from one lily pad to another, except while in the process you're trying to be able to test and ping yourself off of other spirit animals, for example, because you yourself are a spirit animal. Every single person in the world is an animal. That's why we have to have so much respect for animals in addition. But in addition to that, we have to also leverage the other side of the spectrum of this game, also known as anchors. Anchors are journalists. Anchors are also anchors that are physical anchors that correspond to things that are meant to be staying in place and not necessarily coming along with you in your journey. But those anchors necessarily, because they are a necessary part of the necessary equation, are somewhat in the ground as anchors, and they stay there and they stay in place, but they're also conduits of electricity conceptually, and they keep the whole ecosystem and the whole equation in place. And so after all, you want to leave the anchors in place, but after all, those anchors can also be residual journalism for you and yourself if you cross paths with certain anchors in essence. So it is why you want to be corresponding to certain aspects of respect with every single person that you want to be able to cross paths with in essence. But you want to leave them with respect. You want to leave them with a positive taste in their mouth, even if you're not corresponding energies, even if you have to leave them in place like an anchor more or less, because in essence they still are responding to your frequency and your energy, and you're still trying to add value to their lives, even if they're not reciprocal to yours, and it's a problematic energy and it's not corresponding to yours. So you have to leave that anchor in place. You have to leave that anchor there. You have to leave that energy. You have to leave that person behind, and you don't want to be able to take or try to take that person forward in the journey, because it is more like leverage that is best kept and best left like word of mouth journalism, more or less journalism, so that in essence frees you so that you can take a course forward and be able to try to focus on your flywheel focus, like clay pigeon hunting more or less. But like at the same time, it is kind of like that because they're spiraling and spinning around in the air. You're looking for flywheels, you're looking for flywheel energy, and it's a little bit difficult to spot. So it's actually like a hunting game. You're kind of like Mario in the Mario Brothers games, more or less, where he's jumping across different items to be able to rescue the princess after all. And at the same time, we are all spirit animals in this game, so we need to be able to connect with different animals, to be able to try to have different animals in the world to be able to accompany us in our journeys as we are trying to find different asset energies. And animals have the ability to sniff out different asset energies as well. So it's also good to be able to have animals that align with your energy to be able to help you sniff out other asset energies, because those asset energies correspond to being like flywheels in this game. This game is called Anchors and Flywheels. So we've got these two sides of the spectrum in essence, and that corresponds to life, sort of like the up and down aspects of life, so to speak. And so you want to leave the anchors behind. You want to recognize the anchors as soon as possible to be able to let them be as soon as possible to be able to focus on flywheels, because it's like clay pigeon hunting. They are flying around in the air, and they are definitely being looked at by other people in the world in essence. So those things are asset energies, and that's just like money that's flying around in the air. And so other people are looking at that asset energy, and they're trying to analyze it, and they're trying to see how to be able to try to get to it, because it's flying around in the air. It's kind of whizzing around like those Quidditch little balls in the Harry Potter movies in essence, but also like clay pigeons. So you got to be able to try to track them down and hunt them down and be able to try to focus on them like their energy that's swirling and spiraling, because ultimately once you track one down and once you're able to get to know that, like energy that corresponds to asset energy, in essence, it has the ability to quantum leap, quantum jump you into the next level through them, in essence, through them, just like sunlight has the ability to permeate through a human being. In essence, when you go out into the sunlight, the frequency waves from sunlight, in essence, goes past the human being. It goes through a human being. So it's actually like medicine. Sunlight is actually like medicine. It's a natural remedy medicine. And it's a great way to be able to power the whole world. And it's a great way to be able to give some value to life all at once, to be able to understand that the sun's energy has the ability to power all of Earth and be able to heal the ozone layer as it is at the current time in the best frequency, hopefully, that we are able to remedy the earth with, in addition. And so at the same time as we are able to make our little pathways down the pathway of life, we are necessarily needing to align with animal energies. Animal energies are significantly important. We need to praise animal energies and give them higher value in our process, but at the same time, we are seeking flywheels, and we're trying to rescue the princess at the end of the tunnel, which is corresponding to our entrepreneurship journey, which also corresponds to being able to try to dig up different flywheels and different abilities to be able to jump through space, in essence, because this Mario game, in essence, is like a mindset game, and it corresponds to being able to jump through space a little bit at a time, to be able to find and pair together different asset energies based on correlations and based on indicators, based on doing certain analysis that you're seeing from a distance by looking at people and knowing that you're playing the game of anchors and flywheels. Yeah, so basically, as you get a little bit closer to the flywheels, you want to creep kind of softly, you want to creep kind of quietly, you want to creep kind of respectfully, but you want to make sure to keep your focus on the flywheels at all given times, because most of the time, it tends to be that people are anchors for the most part, and so you don't want to be able to necessarily be trying to take forward other anchors in life, because it doesn't necessarily work that way, although they can be parts of your journalism process and your word of mouth good nature to be able to keep your brand spinning, in essence, like plates spinning on those anchors that are anchored in place. You want to be able to be focused on those flywheels that are flying, in essence, and when you are able to track them down there, like your animal spirit, animal energy that corresponds to you, and you're able to jump through them, and you're able to tack them onto your animal persona, because in essence, if you're able to work together, it means you're not going to let that asset energy go, and you want to be able to continue to be able to build a business. And why would you let that asset energy go unless there is a reason to be able to turn that asset energy into an anchor necessarily, and then kind of continue to be moving on? But the essence of flywheels is to, like a car, be able to have the ability to be able to generate energy. So it's a energy generating process. And ultimately, you are trying to rescue the princess from this game called entrepreneurship at the same time. So it's necessary to be able to turn all different people that you know into different creatures and different animals and different spirit animals, to be able to also rescue all the shelter animals from all the shelters, in essence, to be able to turn the nature of shelter animals into games as well, and be able to have that gamification occur, so that in essence, you're continuing to be able to focus on these flywheels like clay pigeons in the air, and then at the same time, you're trying to rescue the princess at the end of the tunnel, which is the corresponding to success for the main goals of your business. And ultimately, by the time that you jump through enough flywheels, by the time that you have enough asset energy, by the time that you have hunted down and focused on basically getting through all of the anchors and weeding out all of the anchors, that more or less you've got just a big pile of clay pigeons, which are the flywheels in your basket at the end. And at the same time, you've got the princess who lands down on top of you, and she graces you, and she gives you good graces, in essence, and taps on her wand to you. And so you've got more or less the good graces of getting to the end goal of the video game, more or less, of anchors and flywheels, which means you've built a business after all, and you've had to navigate, and you had to have this mindset to be able to build a business, which means you've got recurring revenue, you've got a strong structure, and you've got a reliable reputation. And that, therefore, is when you get anointed by the princess at the end of the Mario game, in essence, and then all of your asset energy turns into freeing all of the animals. Like at the end of the Sonic Hedgehog game, it frees all the animals. Like when the princess touches you and anoints you on the top of your dome, on the top of you, to give you the good graces of getting to the goals by being able to focus on asset energy. That is how you get to release all the animals also, like in the Sonic the Hedgehog game, when all of the animals are freed at the end because they all were turned into villains, but you're able to free more animals, you're able to free more people, you're able to free more anchors, you're able to free more asset energy into life, into the world, into the ecosystem, by getting to the princess where she is able to anoint you, and she gives you that good graces and knights you basically with that wand that she's got with a little star on the top of it. And when she does that, all of the animals turn back into good creatures because you're able to spread and reach more asset energy in greater parts of the world, and you're able to continue to scale. And that is sort of the basic foundation of developing a future business pipeline that also corresponds to animal energy, because a lot of these animals are trapped into the ecosystems with humans that are unhappy in essence. And so the more people that you can make happy with your business, the more animals are also treated better. And at the same time, the whole global ecosystem is more moving along in a progressive fashion so that everybody in the world becomes entrepreneurs after all, and realizes that greatest potential of themselves after all by pursuing, in essence, flywheel energy, and making your own vehicle, making your own machine, making your own process to be able to spurt out different aspects of lightning and energy to be able to correspond to a flying mechanism that's shooting out also different wheels with different animals corresponding and attached, because it's all making special spirit animals for different businesses and different corresponding businesses, because all those different partnerships, all those different influencers that you're connecting with that are asset energy, that are high frequency, radiating, spinning already people that you're trying to connect with in the whole world, and you want to buy them lunch because you know your value is worth less than theirs, even though they could buy you lunch easily. It is more or less the reciprocation game. It's the respect game. It's the corresponding kindness game. It's the ability to be able to grow your brand so that in essence you have the ability to give back to the world and grow the world and develop, again, more ability to be able to have the princess touch you so that more animals turn back into friendly animals, or so more villains turn back into friendly animals. In essence, it all the good nature of the world spreads based on the Anchors and Flywheels game. Anchors and Flywheels little video game. It just helps to basically navigate basic life to be able to just focus on assets, and you're trading energy at all given times. You're trading energy. It's like you're trading electricity by being wary of what not to be able to focus on, but being wary of what not to focus on and leaving the anchors in place. And it's very difficult and a different game because it's a narrow and it's a more difficult process to be able to focus on and track down basically the flywheel energy. So you want to always just try to focus on leaving the anchors in place and trying to meticulously navigate through the anchors, and know that the majority of the folks that you're going to cross paths with are anchors in essence, and you need to leave it in place so that you can continue to hunt meticulously and know and have a refined nose to be able to find what the flywheel energy is like, to be able to have that refined nose, to be able to refine your nose, to know exactly what you're looking for in the marketplace of people in life, so that in essence you have the ability to navigate through and push aside all the brushes of different anchors that you're needing to push through and navigate through to be able to move around the world, to be able to just focus on that flywheel energy, which is like a dog looking for something in the grass, in the weeds, in the bush with his nose, because it's a fine, refined nose, it's a refined, meticulous nose, and he has a specific taste that he's going after more or less, and that corresponds to entrepreneurship and making the world a better place, and corresponding to freeing all the shelter animals in the world, and freeing all the philanthropy energy in the world, so all human beings have the ability to experience that same philanthropy energy in the whole world. That's the global philanthropy energy good, by trading asset energy, by trading people energy, by trading flywheel energy, trading flywheel energy. Yep, that's all. Thanks. Bye, Ding Tech. Bye, peace, bye. Ding Tech Change for Games. Ding Tech Change for Game Studios. Bye, peace, bye.